Low quality fans have a high quality playoff team, whomever that team may be. I don't know why I raised my hand like that. What's up, dudes and dudettes? We are talking about the Stars and the Jets now. Two teams that got here through two of the best Game 7s in recent memory. I can't believe we were blessed with back-to-back days of those. What an incredible... and as a Bruins fan, you get it. Watching a different team, particularly the Blues, collapse with less than a couple minutes left. Gosh, how fun has it been for everyone else who've watched the Bruins in big games these past couple of years? We got a taste of that. Good for us. That was painful to even talk about. Before we get into this series, which we are going to preview through the eyes of a diehard Philly fan. Super fun. We're going to talk about how I kind of go about this. So, first of all, I focus far more on the 3 or so months leading up to the playoffs. Most of the data that I use will be focused on that. I think it gives a better snapshot of where a team is in most cases. The advanced analytics I use are from naturalstattrick.com. Home ice means next to nothing to me outside of extreme cases like the Canes. And then predictions at the end are nonsense. They're bupkis. They're ridiculous, but they are mine. So, there's that. Let's talk about this Jets Stars nightmare, really, because, frankly, you don't get to say this about a 1 seed all that often. But if I'm the Jets, I'm sitting there going, did we have one of the hardest routes to the finals? And if I'm the Stars, I can just say, we have the hardest route to the finals. Like, just flat out. And it's crazy to say that from the Jets' perspective because the Blues were an 8 seed. But they're also one of the best teams in the NHL over the last 2 months of the season, which is largely what we talked about. We'll talk about the Stars first, though, and how we got here. We got here through an incredible series against the Avalanche. And I'm a huge Avalanche guy. I'd usually consider them one of my top 3 teams of who I root for outside of the Bruins, outside of the Flyers. But this was one of those series where I was super happy whoever was going to win. I was really, really pumped, and I just had this gut feeling, and I went with the Stars in the series, despite the Heiskanen injuries, despite the Robo injury. I went with the Stars, and people mocked me. But look who's laughing now. Not the Stars. They have to play the Jets. Damn. One of those matchups, though, in that first round, that unless you're a fan of either team, you have the time of your life watching as a no-pressure hockey lover, right? That was the series that everyone should have been tuning into, despite who they actually rooted for. So fun. Remember when the Stars lost 7 straight to end their season? Oh, yeah, you go, right? Feels like a lifetime ago. Well, I told you that wasn't a reason to write that team off, and, well, here we are. If this Dallas team makes it to the finals, I really do think that they will be considered the team with the most difficult path there. And leading into that first-round matchup against the star-studded Avalanche, the focus was primarily on the back end, particularly the Heiskanen injury. Dallas was great all year at 5-on-5 offense, at power play. They really brought it. But towards the end of the year, when injuries occurred, the defense was the one that took a big step back. Now, their defense was solid throughout the year, but the last couple of months of the season, they ranked 16th league-wide on both the penalty kill and overall defense. Now, 16th isn't terrible. It's not Bruins level bad, Flyers level bad, but it's also not very good and not one that gives you a ton of confidence going into the playoffs, right? Because that's a bad defense when you talk about other playoff teams and what caliber they can bring out. It had also appeared to be affecting Ottinger over the last couple months because he, up until the beginning of February, had a .921 save percentage, and then the last 10 weeks of the season, he fell to a .902 save percentage. Now, a lot of that does come from, well, I have less defensive structure in front of me, and there's some real weaknesses on that back end for Dallas when they're not healthy because you have Lyubushkin playing more minutes, you have Dumba playing more minutes, like you have guys that you really just would prefer not to see so much in the lineup. But even bigger than all of that was the 5-on-5 expected goals for percentage, which sat at 46% through the final 2 months of the season. The only playoff team to rank lower than that was the Leafs. And we talked to death about that in their previews and even in the second round preview for them as well. That's not ideal, but then the playoffs start. And, well, Dallas stayed pretty much the same, sort of. The underlying numbers were ugly. Through the series, the Avs largely outchanced them at both 5-on-5 and across their special teams. But Ottinger, very strong, a .911 save percentage. The power play was excellent, scoring on over 30% of their opportunities. And the penalty kill became maybe the most important factor of the series, even though I just don't hear enough people talking about it, as they only allowed 3 goals on 22 penalty kills. If Dallas is getting healthier, which they are, and their special teams stay at this level, it's hard to see anyone knocking them out of the playoffs, despite them giving up advantages at 5-on-5, where they're creating less than their opponents. They genuinely are. Now, the Jets on the other side. I have a fun little quote to start with when I start talking about how the Jets got here. Even with the narrative about Hellebuck in the playoffs, he's still a good bet to maintain high level of play. You know who said that? I did. It's a quote from the preview of the first round matchup. That quote did not age well, but we knew the first round was a hell of a lot closer than their records made it seem. A hell of a lot closer than a 1 seed versus an 8 seed. We knew about the cliff diving that the Jets offense had been doing late in the season, ranking 21st in goals scored and 23rd on the power play over the last 10 weeks. Largely, that was affected by injuries as well. We knew the Jets weren't healthy, the injuries to Ehlers and Velarde, and we did not know when they were coming back. We knew that the Blues had been arguably the best team in the NHL over the last few months of the season. We also knew that the Jets' defense, penalty kill, and goaltending was capable of keeping the Jets in games no matter the scenario. That video was followed by a defensive and goaltending effort that frankly should have sent the Jets home, right? I don't think that's a foreign comment there, a foreign idea. That was awful. Hellebuck ended the series with an .830 save percentage and almost 4 goals allowed per game. If not for some late Game 7 heroics, and I'm putting that lightly, with the Jets coming back from 2 down with less than 2 minutes on the clock and finishing it in double overtime, you already know all this stuff, I'm sure, but the discourse about Hellebuck would be far louder than it is today. And it's pretty loud, but it would be deafening. And there would be conversations about what the Jets do. Where do you go from here? The guy's got a big contract, a long contract. He's also probably going to win the Vezina this year. Like, it's a really tough situation to be in. And right now, we sort of have the polar opposite with the Bruins, because Swayman really bad in the regular season this year, hoping that he turns it on for the playoffs. The playoffs didn't happen. I actually can't even say we have the opposite, because I have no idea what we have with Swayman at this point. Except for also I'm a Flyers fan. God, I'm breaking character a lot in this one. There's other good news, though, for the Jets, though. It gets largely ruined by goaltending, this good news. But at 5-on-5, the Jets created a higher amount of high-danger chances in the first round than their opponents, despite being outscored 21-12 at even strength across the series. Hellebuck at his norm changes those goal totals for sure. But that was a dangerous Blues team at peak confidence. It's a good sign to see the Jets outplaying them during the 5-on-5 minutes. That does boost confidence a little bit, even if the score was so lopsided during those minutes. Again, the defense, not perfect by any means, but Hellebuck did create a lot of those issues. There, unfortunately, isn't much else to get too excited about with the Jets. The power play was okay in the first round, 22%, and it was against a penalty kill that had been really, really excellent going into the postseason. The penalty kill was okay, and again, affected by the goaltending, 76%. Doesn't sound impressive, but shockingly, that was good enough for 6th among playoff teams. 76%. Weird. Honestly, we can rehash how great of a year the Jets had and how they're good at everything while healthy, but it really all hinges on the important factor. Number 1, which is Hellebuck and his coworkers. I mentioned his coworkers, his teammates, because it's not like it was all on Helly. But Helly was awful, man. I just can't get across to you how bad. There's no way you can watch that series and go, Yeah, no, it's the defense. He looks good. He was nowhere close to a starting level goaltender, let alone a Vezina favorite. An .830 save percentage and almost 10 goals allowed above expected. I know not everyone loves the expected goals statistic. Honestly, I have a lot of issues with it as well. I do like to use it, but there's certain variables that go into it that bother me. But 10 in a 7-game series, that's a lot of difference-making goals. It's a miracle the Jets found a way to win this, honestly. And through 7 games, the Jets only won 1 game in which they scored less than 4 goals. I'm aware empty netters played a role in that, but when you have Connor Hellebuyck, you're supposed to be able to win the 2-1 games. They got one of those, game 2. They'll need more. That is the most important factor by far in this series. Because for the Jets to beat Dallas, they need things to go right for them. And have Hellebuyck be normal. And that's not saying because Dallas is some juggernaut that should wipe the floor with the Jets. One of these teams needs things to go right for them to beat the other. That's just what this series is. Like, one of them is going to have to get the bounces, the calls, whatever. But this one's close. And I think if everyone's not hitting on all cylinders, that's the team that just get knocked out. It's just too easy at that point. You have to be at your best at this point. These teams are too good. You have to be at your best. The other important factors, one of them is health. Scheifele, Morrissey, Heiskanen, Robertson are all listed as injured. They all may play game 1. They may not play until game 4 or 5. We don't know. Bunch of game time decisions, bunch of chatter amongst the teams. With no concrete timeline, it feels silly to discuss this, but is it possible this series comes down to who has their best players for the most games? It sounds really derivative and silly, right? Like, just dumb. Yeah, whoever has the better players. But this literally might come down to who gets back quickest, right? I don't know. We'll see. But health is going to play a factor in this one, unfortunately, because it's 2 great teams. Hopefully everyone's ready for game 1, and we don't have to talk about it. Special teams will be the last important factor, and this would likely be number 1 if it weren't for the Hellebuyck discourse. But the Jets' special teams weren't necessarily bad in round 1, but they certainly weren't what Dallas was. If Dallas maintains this level of special teams, it'll be an uphill battle for a Jets team that could really use a couple of simple wins, right? Like, Dallas right now, penalty kill is humming. Power play is humming. They're fine playing however they need to play right now, right? They're good. Their goaltender looks good. Their special teams look good. Their 5-on-5 isn't great, but they'll put their effort in. They're fine. The Jets, on the other hand, I think they could greatly benefit from some simple 5-on-5 effort wins. Like, that's how this team builds their confidence and makes sure. They just won game 7 in double overtime. Your confidence should be pretty decent. But I think it helps grow that team back into what they were. Beat them at 5-on-5. Outmuscle them, outwork them. Win the game at the level that the majority of the game is played at. The more the Jets can stay out of the box and keep this a 5-on-5 game, the more it benefits them. Now, I know, again, this is another one of those points that you're kind of like, stay out of the box? Duh. Yes. Great point, Loqual. But there are some series where this is more true than others. This is one of them. It's not just because Dallas's power play is hot. It's because the Jets need to build. They need to build on some consistency. That last series was an absolute mess in a lot of ways. Simple 5-on-5 hockey. Forechecking, back-checking, pay-checking. That's what they need right now. I don't think they get enough of it, though. My prediction? I've had this gut feeling about Dallas all year. And I've chosen them to represent the West in the finals for years straight. So, let's not act like I'm smart here. But going into that Colorado series, I had a gut feeling. And despite the injuries that they were facing, despite the losing streak they were on, despite how good Colorado looked, and despite all the people telling me, that's a stupid choice, because I had a lot of people comment and message me being like, that's pretty dumb, dude. I don't know how you see Dallas coming out of this one. Sometimes gut feelings are gut feelings, man. Sometimes hunches work. I'm still riding with Dallas. And I think this is another 7-game thriller. So Dallas in 7, go Stars, go. I'm excited about this one. This will be really fun. And of course, here at the end of the video, I love to give some shout outs to the fantastic high quality inspectors who help support the channel and keep this running. I super appreciate every single one of you, from the role player tier, the top line tier, and of course the all-star tier. We are going to do our shout outs for this top line tier. Thank you so much to Sean Kreider, Michael Kamara, Chris and Erica, Kevin Timperley, Quackin' Platypus, JM, Smoke Channels, Shaggy, Adam Ella, Albert Waldron, Negev79, Lola Cattingsworth, EKM Productions, Moonlighter TV, Big Bad Bruin, The Bugman, Jeff with a G, Tommy Braga, Roland22, GD Viperworks, Len Kreutz, Brock Nope, Han Slobo, Coach D, The Atomic Lizard, Bradley Johnson, Brett Arney, Pincent, and Nick Zatrullo. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. Your top line material. But now we got to move on to our all-star tier members, the absolute legends. We have Jacob Pratt, Jake Brower, Dampen, JG's 12, Mark S., Ann Hustis, Tim R., Lorenzo Wood, Penny Pasta, Levi Catalani, Boston Stringler, Bagel, Nightmare Eco, John Kirk, Joel, Stealthy Potato, Heil E. Coyote, Darren Woodbury, Abraxion, Wolf Warrior, Vinny, Adrian Winter, Tupton D. Tashi, Bruin Smash, D.A. Kingery, The Only Newts, A Tasty Snack, Dutes42, and Jeremy. Thank you all for all of the support and love that you are all giving. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, go Bees!